Someone suggested that I do a video on character creation for Tenra Bansho 0. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to walk you all through creating a sample character for Tenra Bansho 0. The character creation starts on page 14 in the book. You should really read that because it actually does a very good job explaining how character creation works in this game, and actually gives you an example of everything you could possibly want to do when you're creating a character for this game. Character creation is described in 7 different steps in this game. The first one being talking it out with your GM and the rest of the players, figuring out who wants to play what, and what would be ideal for the game, and so on and so forth. This generally works a little bit better if you have a grip on what everything a character can be in this game is. You can skip the character creation section if you want, but you definitely should read page 20 first, because I'm not going to go over absolutely everything you can play as in this game. That's just too much for me to concisely explain. But starting on page 20, that's the summary of all the special abilities you can have. Read that. It's a really nice summary that'll give you plenty idea of what you can and cannot do. So, after you do that, the first step, talking it out, figuring out what you want to be, and also figuring out what your concept is the first step. And the concept for this one is we're just going to go with a lone ninja. So doesn't go under archetypes. Archetypes, something completely different. Concept is what I'm looking for. Lone ninja. He's a ninja that's kind of like a ronin, by himself, doesn't really serve anyone. After you've decided on what you want your concept to be, here, lone ninja, you then choose what you want your archetypes to be. And I've already went ahead and read through the archetype section, and I know what archetypes I want to use. But the archetype section starts on page 389. And the easiest way to make a character in this game is to just pick a few archetypes. Anywhere from 2 to 4 should be plenty. And you basically use those to create the basis for your character. Your archetypes are generally going to be what give you everything your character needs. And it usually gives you skills, suggests some starting equipment, and it also suggests a few fates for you. You don't have to go with exactly what's in the archetypes, and you can even skip over making archetypes altogether. But if you're new, archetypes are your best friend in this game. So I've decided that there's 3 particular archetypes I want to go with. I want to go with the Shinobi archetype, which, if you want to look at that, it is on page 406. I'm just going to go ahead and write in parentheses what page number that's on. And I also want to go with Lordless Soldier, because he's a lone ninja. He doesn't have anyone that he's working for. So, Lordless Soldier. And that's on page 395. And just because I want a little bit more details to this character, I'm going to go with the last one, Hard Luck. And that is on page 390. So there are the page numbers for those if you want to read over those yourself. So you'll see that I'm not just pulling this stuff out of the usual spot. This is stuff that's listed in the book. Get out your book, look at these page numbers. That's where I'm getting all this from. After you've picked out a few archetypes, make note of how much each of those archetypes costs, as well as how much attributes it costs you to take a particular archetype. None of my archetypes here cost me any attributes, so I get the full amount of points that every character gets for raising their attributes. I get a total of 40. Each archetype also suggests what attributes you'll want to specialize in. So going back into the book as our example, the Shinobi archetype suggests that I have Agility, Senses, Spirit, and Station. Now, agility is naturally how fast a character is. Senses, how in tune they are with their surroundings. Both things that make a lot of sense for a ninja. Spirit is sort of like magic. It's sort of like your character's magical ability. And ninjas in this game, Shinobi especially, rely very heavily on magic. So, Spirit's another very important thing for a Shinobi to have. Station is the one that I could actually do without, since station is essentially what your character... Station is essentially where your character belongs in the world. And since my character is a lordless ninja, is a lordless soldier, station is not very important for him. Because if he's remembered by anything, he's gonna be, oh, you used to work for this person right here, until they died. So, the lordless soldier archetype, that one recommends that I go with, once again, spirit and station. Okay, so station and spirit are definitely things I'm going to want to go for. And the last one I chose, hard luck, that one actually suggests empathy as my primary attribute. So with all that in mind, we're going to split up our 40 points among all 7 of the different attributes that you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think you can really get a good look at them from here, but there we go. We can fit all 7 of them. We can go fit all 7 of them in that way, but that's a bit of a pain for me to write sideways like that. So what we're gonna do, station and spirit are definitely gonna be the most important ones for my character. So I think I'm gonna put those at about 7 spirit, because spirit, that is your magical ability, also factors into how much soul points you have, which is currently off screen, as well as how much vitality you have. So spirit's a very important thing to have no matter what. And station is important because that determines what sort of weapons your character is able to use. And if I want my character to have access to a lot of different weapons, a high station is generally a good idea. So we're going to go with 5 for that. So I've used 12 of my points so far. Empathy is another important stat, not only for my character's archetypes, but just because empathy is a very useful skill to have if you want to improve your character or gain a lot of ki and I-ki, or if you're going to gain a lot of I-ki and you want to gain a lot of ki. So let's go ahead and give him 6 empathy. So that brings me up to 18. I have 22 points left. Knowledge is a nice one to have, but it's not the focus of my character. So we're going to put a 4 in there. That gives me a total of 22 that I've used so far. I have 18 left. And senses was another one that it said was really important, so I'm actually going to raise that up to 7. So I'm at 29 right now. You'll notice that each of the stat blocks right here, you got the attribute right here, and then all the skills that it pertains to are right underneath that. Those are usually what you're going to roll when you're rolling for that particular ability, or that particular skill. Because it's possible that you might use melee weapons with body, but don't count on it. Agility is more likely to happen, because it's more important that you hit the right spot when you're wielding a giant sharp hunk of metal. So, you'll also notice that some of them have circles filled in, some of them don't. The ones that don't have any circles, those are specialized skills. You can only get those if you have special training. Like ninjutsu, you can only get if you're a ninja. So we're going to be filling that one in, because that's one of the skills that we get for being a shinobi. But criminal arts is not likely to come up for us. Anyways, I need to finish distributing my stats. So I have 11 left. We're going to go with 7 in agility. And we're going to finish off with 4 in body, which brings us to a grand total of 40, if I'm not mistaken. You'll also notice that there's a second box right here. Those are for if your character has some sort of transformation, or if they have an armor that they can get into. Like, you would put the stats for your armor right here, because your armor has a different body, agility, and senses than you do. But since it's not a living thing, it doesn't have knowledge, spirit, empathy, or station. Or if your character is able to transform because they are a samurai, your augmented stats would go in here. After you filled out your attributes from the 40 you get normally, you're going to look at the skills that your archetypes grant you. Now, the 3 archetypes I chose, they grant me 7 different skills. I gained the hunt skill, which is pursuit hunt under senses. I get that at 3. I also gained the first aid skill at 2. This is from all my attributes in no particular order. I also gained the melee weapon skill at 3. So I'm going to fill in up to 3 dots. I also gained marksman at 2, which is under senses. And I also gained stealth at 2. Ninjutsu goes up to a whopping 4 for my character, which that also grants me access to the special ninja magic that you normally can't access. There's an entire section in the book dedicated to ninja magic. Just look it up in the index if you want more details on that. The last skill that I have is, once again, hunt pursuit, but we've already got that one, so what we're going to do is, if any of your archetypes give you skills that overlap in any way, like my archetypes, the archetypes I've chosen give me hunt twice. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to pick one other skill that I haven't put any dots into yet, and I can put 3 dots in there instead. And I think it's important that my character is let's say he's very agile, and he's very good at moving. We want him to be able to get in and out as fast as possible. So that extra count of hunt I get is going to go under movement. And the last thing you can do is, if there's any particular skill that you really want that is not one of the special skills, what you can do is you can lower one of your stat points. You can lower one of your attributes by 1, and you can either give a 2 for 2 different skills, or you can give a 3 to 1 skill. So I actually have a lot of skills that are rated at 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lower my character's senses by 1 to make it 6. And I'm going to use it to raise my willpower up to 2, and my information up to 2 as well. Then I'm also going to lower my spirit by 1 to make that 6, and I'm going to use that to give me a total of 3 in notice. So those are the exchanges you can make. You can lower an attribute by 1 to fill in 2 other skills up to 2, or you can lose an attribute point to raise another skill up to 3. And I just did both of those right there for you. Your archetypes will suggest certain weapons for you, but if you want to truly customize your character, you can look on page 419 to basically choose out your weapons. And the summary of that is, you can choose any weapon you want as long as you have the station requirement for it, or if it's not a gunpowder or a soul gem weapon. If it's an ordinary weapon, all you need is the right station, but you need to actually spend karma if you want to have a gunpowder or soul gem weapon. Myself, I'm just going to go with the weapons that are afforded to me by my archetypes. So you can write those down right here. After you have your weapons written down, next thing you do is you need to calculate how much karma that you've used, with all the special weapons you have, all the other things, as well as from what your archetypes grant you. Now, the Shinobi archetype costs 55 karma. I'm just going to write that right next to Shinobi right there. So that costs 55 karma. Lordless Soldier costs 13 karma because it grants you a gunpowder weapon. And lastly, Hard Luck costs 5. If you ever have just one archetype that costs a lot of karma and you want something else to go with, Hard Luck is always a nice choice. So with that, we're going to add all that up. 73. In total, it cost me about 73 karma. That's about average, because a character should have anywhere from about 40 to 100 karma, with 70 being sort of a nice happy middle ground. My attribute cost, 0. None of my archetypes cost me any attributes, even though I lowered my attributes to raise skills. You don't write that here. In fact, I can't really think of any good place to write that, but anyways. So then, going on to your starting karma, We have a total of 73 karma right now. That will go up as we play and we spend ki and so forth. And the last thing you do is, these are the sort of things that sort of bring your character to life. Like, what do they care about? And your archetypes, once again, suggest what you can do with what you should do with those. Each archetype suggests a particular fate for you, but you're only allowed to have 2 fates starting off. Now, the 3 fates that I'm suggested, and I say suggested because you're allowed to come up with your own, with the GM's permission, but the 3 that I'm suggested are, for Shinobi, property of the clan. I don't have a clan, so that one's not appropriate for my character. Lordless Soldier suggests that I take Suspicious of Power. So I'm going to go ahead and include that one right there. That's one I definitely want to have. Because he was, at one point in time, property of the clan, but now he's not, and he rather likes his freedom, and he's suspicious of anyone that wants him to do his bidding, that wants him to do their bidding. So, Suspicious of Power. And last, we need to pick a second one. We've only got one other archetype, so we're just going to go with what that one says. Misfortune, death of your most precious thing. So we're going to write death of, we'll say death of clan leader. Because even though he's suspicious of power now, there was that point in time where he was loyal to his clan. So death of his clan leader is the loss of his precious thing. Okay, so after you choose your 2 fates, what you're going to do is you're going to rate one of them at 2, which I rated Suspicious of Power at 2, meaning he's a little suspicious of power, but that's not really what defines him as a character. And Death of Clan Leader, that left him really mortified, so we're just going to go ahead and give him 3 on that one. So this is sort of a graphical representation of what your character cares about. He's suspicious of power, but that's not as important as the fact that his clan leader is dead, and he's kind of torn up about that. So, after you've recorded down your fates, if you have anything else left, there's anything else left you need to do, now is the good time to do it. Like coming up with a name. Let's go with the name, let's go with, Tenra Kibigami. He is male. And we'll say that he is, let's go with 39. He's 39 years old. And we also need to calculate his vitality. There is a nice little formula right here. It's your body plus your spirit. Simple enough. So our body is 4, our spirit is 6. We have a vitality of 10. And our current vin is 10. You should put your max down here and how much you currently have right up there. Or you just tick mark off how much you've lost. Any way that makes you comfortable keeping track of how much vitality you have left. Vitality is, of course, a marker of how long it is until you get knocked unconscious. Soul is spirit plus knowledge times 2. So we have a spirit of 6, knowledge of 4, for a total of 10 times 2, 20. So we have 20 spirit. We're really good with magic, apparently. We have a lot of fuel for our magic. And Ki, we don't have any Ki starting off. And last thing we need to do for this character is fill in our wound boxes. Wound boxes are another form of damage you can take. These actually indicate your character, well, becoming wounded. Light wounds don't really do much for you, and they're easy to fill out. They're easy to heal. So you have a number of those equal to your body, 4. So we're just going to count off 4 of them, and then we just fill in the rest of them, black them out, because we can't use those. Black them out with a pencil, just in case you need to erase them, because your body goes up through the course of the game. Heavy wounds. Heavy wounds is... that represents, like, you get cut up, or maybe a bone gets broken, and during a scene, if you check a heavy box, you get a +1 to all your dice rolls for the remainder of that scene. Start off with a number of those equal to your body divided by 2. So we're going to count off our body divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we count off 2 of them, gray out the rest. We can only have 2 heavy boxes. Last, critical. These are like really serious things like losing a limb and bleeding out. And you start off with a number of those equal to your body divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we just gray out all but one of these. And you also get only one dead box. Now, your critical wounds, when you have one of those checked off during the remainder of that scene, you get a +2 dice bonus to all your rolls, but you lose 1 vitality every combat turn. And last, dead. This is a very important box and something that makes this game very unique. In that, once you check the dead box, that means, let's say you were to take 5 damage, you just check the dead box instead. That's the only box you need to check. But from that point forward, if you run out of vitality, your character dies. Normally, your character doesn't die if they run out of vitality. They just get knocked out and they're out of the scene. If you check off the dead box and you run out of vitality and then you run out of vitality, your character's dead. You're not allowed to play them anymore. And that's a very unique touch because that gives the player control over whether their character dies or not. Also, for checking the dead box, you get +3 to all your rolls for the remainder of the scene. But until you get that dead box healed up, your character can die. So anyways, with all that said, that was creating a character for Tenra Bansho 0. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you didn't, I apologize. But also wonder why you watched it for this long. I mean, this was a 20-minute video. Even I'm kind of surprised for how long this went on. And more surprised that you're still watching. How about we play a game? If you watched this far into the video, leave the word nibblesnarf in the comments with absolutely no context. In fact, here's how you spell it.